Welcome back, fellow gamers. I want to talk to you today about the top 5 commanders for mono blue decks. So this is my top 5 list. Two things to keep in consideration is, one, I don't really play with a ban list, so I sometimes slot in some cards that maybe you don't have access to. Secondly, I am mostly a casual player, so if you are looking for a competitive 1v1 list, this is probably not it. But I do know there are a few inclusions here, particularly number 5 and I believe number 2 on my list are considered to be some of the best commanders. But what I take into consideration is a lot of the fun factor in it. I play Commander really to just hang out with my friends and honestly to beat them down a bit. But when it comes to my deck lists or my top 5 lists, always look at it through that lens that I'm not a competitive 1v1 player. So let's get started. At number 5, we have Jayce, Vryn's Prodigy. Now, yeah, this is a lot of people are gushing about this card or have gushed about it in the last few months because of the consistency that Jayce provides as his, human self, or not human self, human wizard self, creature self is what I want to say. So he comes down turn 2, maybe turn 1, depending on your draw. And he's then able to filter out some of the cards that you don't need. So if you're starting to get mana flooded or you are in need of land, you can try getting that more rapidly than you would with other mono blue commanders. He does provide a lot of consistency, and if ever he does flip, he does turn into a planeswalker that should be dealt with fairly quickly. So he's relevant early game, and he is definitely a target late game, which is something that that you want your planeswalkers, or at least your creatures, to pull off. At number 4, we have Arkham Dyson. So this is a creature that I've faced, and the first time I played against him, I was not expecting this powerful of a ability. I guess I misread it, or I just didn't really take it seriously, but this is a strong card. It's an ability that can be played on both sides of the board, so it does provide some versatility, but it also allows you to tutor for things that you might really need. So if you're producing a lot of, let's say, mirror tokens or Thopters, and you just want to be able to get out some of your really big, bad, awesome artifact cards that might cost a lot of mana, this is a great way of doing it. The tap ability is phenomenal. The fact that there's no rider on it where you need to pay some additional mana makes it great. I really dig this card. At number 3, we have FairyTemporal Archmage. I personally love playing a mini Super Friends deck, so it's essentially a lot of versions of Jayce with, maybe a Tamiyo, Karn, Ugin, and a few other planeswalkers thrown in to the mix. I just enjoy playing it that way. You play this with the Chain Veil and forget about it. You are loving the combos that this generates for you. And if you get your ultimate, which I'll be honest is kind of easy, you are going to run away with it if your opponents can't handle your planeswalkers. If you start playing multiple planeswalkers, forget about it. It's as good as done. At number 2, we have Azami, Lady of Scrolls. So this is a card where, obviously, if you build like a wizard tribal deck, it is going to be a card that generates significant card advantage for you. And I think that this is probably one of the more powerful cards or commanders in the format, not just mono blue. Now, I'm not a huge fan of playing this card just because it's so consistent. I always like some variety in my games. As odd as that sounds, I get bored fairly easily, so I generally don't play with this card very often unless I put it into the 99. As a general, it's far too consistent for my liking, and that would be why I don't play it as much as some people might. Now, this doesn't mean that it's not a powerful card, because it is definitely a powerful card. Again, I just mentioned it. It is consistent, it gives you card advantage, and it combos pretty well with a lot of different cards, so that's something to keep in mind. Let's move on to number 1. Number 1 is Ferry, Mage of Zafir, and this is one of my favorite generals. So you know how I just mentioned how I don't like it when it's too consistent and all this and that? Well, this here is kind of that way because I pretty much win all the time with this general. And while he might not be the strongest, he's certainly my favorite, and that's why I'm putting him at number 1. If I was doing pure power level, he might crack, he might be number 5, but he's my favorite. And he's my favorite because I like the fact that I can cast my creatures with flash whenever they want, and each opponent can only cast spells when they can cast an instant or sorcery. So it really limits, counter spells and all that kind of stuff. It allows me to do what I want on my turn. So it's like playing a game of Hearthstone, if you will. I'm just saying that's the analogy that I would draw. You're playing Hearthstone essentially with the Ferry out, because there is no real interaction that your opponents can have. So while they're playing Hearthstone, you're playing Magic the Gathering. So it really gives you a good advantage where you can interact with their stuff, but they can't interact with your stuff. Lets you enact your evil plans as much as you need. So there you have it. That is my top 5 list of mono blue commanders. I will be doing the rest of the color wheel or the color pie, and I'll also be doing multicolors and artifacts and all that kind of stuff down the line. So do keep an eye on that, or you might need to check the card that's up above, because I should have that linked retroactively when those get posted down the line. Really love to know what your favorite commanders are in mono blue. Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you have any ideas on what you'd like to see from this channel regarding Commander or maybe MTG Finance or anything like that, let me know in the comments below as well. I'm definitely looking at broadening the MTG content that I have. I do love my deck techs, my anti-deck techs that I do produce, and I also really enjoy my top 5 lists. My top 5 lists do really well, but I would like to know what you like out of this channel. I'd like to thank you for making me a part of your day, and if you'd like to check out some other videos, you can do that on screen right now. And if you'd like to subscribe, which does help the channel out, but it also lets you know when we upload new MTG content just like this, it's a win-win for the both of us. Until next time, good gaming.